If you'd like a form with more bells and whistles than the SharePoint forms provide, I'd encourage you to take a look at Microsoft InfoPath. InfoPath 2010 lets you create two different types of forms. One type of form is a full-featured form that runs in Microsoft InfoPath Filler, so it can be used offline. For example, a form that salespeople might fill out when they can't get to a web connection. The other type of form that you can create using InfoPath is a browser-ready form. So it's a real competitor for the SharePoint forms, but you can create forms that are more beautiful and forms that use some controls that SharePoint doesn't have access to. This is an example of an InfoPath form for the workflow that we're creating to request a new position. So this is a workflow with lots of conditions. I'll just walk through it briefly here. We have the ability for a person to enter the title of the position that they'd like to have hired, a proposed start date, their own name and email. We can have those filled in automatically later. The name and email for their vice president, and then there are some drop-down lists. If you'd like to see what this looks like to the user, let's go ahead and click the preview button. And you'll see that the drop-downs have department names, we have some salary ranges here, and we have nice date picker fields. So we create this form in InfoPath, and as we're creating the form, it's creating a data source here in XML. We can now use this form to actually create the list that we'd like to see in SharePoint. And this is the best practice. We don't want to start in SharePoint with an existing list. If we wanted to do it that way, we should use the SharePoint forms that are created and modify them using SharePoint Designer. When we start with InfoPath, we're actually saying that we're really invested in the kind of presentation that a user gets when they're going to be filling out a form. So here's what the form looks like. We're going to go ahead and save this form so that it's ready for us to publish to create our list in SharePoint so we can then add workflows.